So good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to another scene for the Living World of Darkness, a rage across New York. We are setting scene in the Umbra on the Sept of the Green, centering in on the Sheep's Meadow, where I imagine the grass is kind of rimed with frost, and we've got the very, very initial, very almost imperceptible light of the first signs of morning. And as birds are twittering like they do, which is, charming to some, obnoxious to others, depending on whether you've had sleep. 10 Point is out in the field, or should I say Bundle Point, for she is bundled because it is cold. And we'll have at her feet a violin case sitting open, and for the sake of making her even easier to find than usual, is probably finishing up her Twilight song, which more often than not, in fact, involves playing the violin with her face turned up to the early morning sky or the late evening sky. So she will be kind of a distinct silhouette in the umbral reflection of the Sheep's Meadow with violin music traveling across the length of the length of the field.
Jason has obligingly done his. He's gone to his meeting, and he's said hello to all the people that he's supposed to, and gone on his morning run and stuff. But he actually is specifically going to go looking for 10 Point this morning. And he will stop back by the trailer, because that's where he's storing his human stuff, and get himself a coat once he's done running, because you can't really run with a jacket on, and pick up a little tiny package and go find the our dear Metis.
Yes. Very literally, dear Metis.
She's the dearest. But we'll undoubtedly stand, probably slightly awkwardly off to the side, while she looks like she's doing something. But then we'll approach slowly. Doesn't want to pop out of nowhere and startle her, although Meadows, you can see people coming.
Yes. She will probably have had kind of a very rapturous expression turned upwards in the midst of the song itself. But it is not necessarily a very long rite. It is a minor rite. So she will, before long, will finish the brief piece that she is playing, taking the bow from the strings and twitching a glance to the side because there's people there. And of course, naturally, as her head ticks off to the side, the bells will give off a light jingle. And upon spotting one of the cubs, she'll offer just a polite bow of head.
And he will, in return, offer a significantly deeper sort of bow motion.
It's very early, Anrai. Good morning. And she will proceed to bow down and start just kind of lovingly packaging her violin.
We've been getting up relatively early, but I wanted to find you before we all got caught up in other stuff during the day.
Did you? What can I do for you, Anrai?
I have a gift and a request. Raya.
There'll be a faint, more amused than anything else, smile. Though as she clicks the case shut, and somehow inexplicably, it's able to fit through the mouth of the bag, but it really shouldn't fit in lengthwise. We'll stow the violin case in her Mary Poppins bag, such as it was, and rouse herself up, turn herself around to face him, and simply hold out a hand.
And he will hand her a little. It's one of those silly little gauze bags that you get with inexpensive jewelry and things. And inside it is a little tiny wind chime with a crescent moon and 3 little chimes dangling off of it.
Is it like an actual, like, legit? Is it of a size to actually be hung up in the wind, or is it? You said it was like jewelry sized bag, so
It's the same kind of bag. It's probably about 5 inches long, so it can be hung up. But it is clearly, he did not go to Jared's. He went to some, little kitschy, I'm a Wiccan store.
New Age store.
Yes.
And yeah, she will still have a faintly amused look at the gesture, and will briefly tug out the small chime, giving a faint nod in approval before glancing up as she tucks it back into the bag. I see you're being taught to do things formally and properly. What can I do for you, Henri?
Bites the Week has set a task for me. He wants me to prepare myself, and I think the others as well, to fight a Bane. And he said, when I asked about it, that I should use fire, and that the best way to do it would be to ask you about how to get a blessing from a fire spirit.
It shouldn't be difficult. How do you intend to fight?
I'm told that taking them by surprise is best, and then I should just hit them until they die. It's not
her
bad
tiny
advice.
smirk grows just the slightest bit.
Can I say Chloe overheard that as she was going through there?
Do it.
It's not the worst advice I've ever been given, but it was not the most precise.
There's the crunching of snow coming from behind Jason. But that means that 10 Point can see Chloe.
And it means that, like, there will be a light crunching, and 10 Point isn't necessarily going to go into a grossly unnecessary display, especially with Chloe at a distance. Though as she comes around, gets within that, passes that invisible line that various people set at various distances, 10 Point will take a moment to shift her glance from Jason to behind Jason. And rather than go through a huge display, because she has become fairly familiar with the fact that Chloe doesn't necessarily want them, she will offer what is essentially a nod, but rather than tipping her head forward, will tip it briefly back, more of a cursory throat showing than anything else.
Yeah, like Chloe will just offer 10 Point a smile, which hopefully she'll take it as you're good. And if not, that's up to you. And she'll just kind of continue to walk until she's slightly behind Jason. She's not going to interrupt at this exact moment, but there was the crunching of snow, so at least it made sense.
He has a tendency to stop moving when he's not like entirely sure of things. And it's something that Chloe would have noticed by now. Like, it's definitely when he is analyzing whatever is going on around him, he just stops. And he's doing that right now. It's like, who's behind me? And his face is wearing that, like, am I going to get smacked in a minute kind of expression.
Chloe
What it's
literally
worth,
just
10 Point
stopped.
is Point is fairly lax. She's not giving any signs of alarm or tension, and we'll even go so far as Clay gives her the smile, and thus she knows that the bob has been enough. We'll simply offer past Jason a pleasant enough good morning, Graya. And for what it's worth, because I forgot to mention it before, she has a rather than the usual, like, really over-the-top painting process, she simply seems to have a smear of blue paint on her brow, probably pitching down towards her nose rather than across.
Oh. Mm.
Yeah, Chloe was good morning. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I heard some very interesting advice was given. But do continue. And she looks at Jason. Well, looks up at Jason. No, this is the Umbra. It would be looking down because it shows you by your rank a little bit more in the Umbra.
Mm-hmm. He's definitely got
I
more.
didn't actually know that. That's fascinating.
Yeah, like the higher your rank is, the more like the bigger you are. It's really weird.
I feel like it doesn't necessarily have to be like all out size, but you definitely feel more pronounced. You definitely have a stronger presence.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we can go with that, whatever it is. She looks whatever direction makes sense for Jason at this point.
Very well. They look at each other, and he just, yeah, it was very, very helpful advice.
Can I ask who gave you this advice?
Aiden, Raya.
I see.
It was, yeah.
And
Colin
seeing if he's turned the other
did,
way, he won't necessarily see 10 Point's eyebrows kind of pop the slightest.
Colin did confirm this.
Well, it is indeed very obvious sort of thing to say. She just kind of looks puzzled by the whole thing. Like, why were they doing this? I'm going to say Bites the Week probably had better advice.
Fire. Raya.
Anyway, keep going. Sorry. And she just takes like a step back as if to step out of the conversation. Although it's not actually far enough to be out of the conversation, but the effort was made.
The gesture was there.
Yes.
I mean, I don't really know where to go from this point.
Fire spirits are not especially difficult to pay chiminage to.
That's a new word.
She kind of pauses for a second, thinks about it. Chiminage is a term for the offerings and the sacrifices that we offer to spirits in exchange for their aid.
Oh, that makes sense.
All deals are made with chiminage, whether it is a physical offering, an action to be done in the future, even damage taken to one's body.
He grimaces.
Or perhaps years of your life given away. Blake, 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 Blake.
Thankfully, not frequently, or for anything small.
No, it was well worth it.
But in the case of asking a fire spirit for aid in combat, probably some manner of offering, something that means something, being burned, fed to the spirit. Do you plan to use any weapons or simply your body?
I don't really have any, so I don't know, actually.
Well, I can tell you this. I'm about 90% sure that Bites the Week will prefer that you use your natural weapons. Based on who he is.
Just kind of a faint nod of agreement.
She'll look at 10 point and be like, I'd go with that. Claws, teeth, that type of thing.
Could make it interesting. Do you know how many of you are going?
Not exactly. I have a feeling it might be all of the cubs.
Then, as you speak to the others, suggest that each find something, not something of too gross a personal value, but something of value of theirs that they can bring to offer. And I will negotiate between you and the spirits and see if I can't earn you a boon for your fight.
There'll be more scrunchies in the snow. As Simon and Carolani with him are approaching, because Simon was told by the cub here that he wanted to meet Carolani, and he was with Carolani, and he saw the cub. So
Finally.
they're probably full of snow, though. They were just playing the snow. So he's in Lupus, by the way. So yeah, he's in Lupus with Carolani in.
Kailani is also in. Yep, Kailani is also in Lupus. The high ban is off. She can run around in Lupus
Well,
again.
we're in the Umbra, so you're good.
And
Yeah.
who cares if they're in the Umbra or not? She can run around in Lupus again.
She
Hot
can.
damn. And she doesn't have to worry about anyone seeing her just suddenly poof into the Umbra.
Both will be offered cursory nods on approach. And the very simple, just, yeah, Henri. Bob, jingle, jingle.
Simon will nod at everybody and look at Jason. Jason, you wanted to meet Kailani?
What? Yes. Raya, yes.
In a very funny gesture, his paw will go up on Kailani's head. This is Kailani.
That is so awkward.
Paw pat. Dunk.
He looks slightly panicked.
Kailani sits down on her haunches and gives Simon a look.
Drops in the snow.
It's not a mean look. It's not a. It's a mom
Really?
look. It's a Did you really just do that?
He'll flop in the snow.
You really just did that.
Yeah, he'll flop in the snow. It's also not a. No, it's not a hole completely. I'm sorry, but yeah, it's like when the kid just did something stupid.
Jason he looks like he's about to take a knee for a second and then remembers that there's snow everywhere and it's probably super special, magically cold in the Umbra.
I'm just going to tell you this. Chloe is watching him kind of expectantly.
Yeah, it is cold, but the snow is let's face it, it's the Umbra, so the snow is just that perfect snow.
True.
It's not insanely soggy. It's not insanely cold. It's just that almost obnoxiously pleasant movie fluff because it's umbral snow. It is everything that snow can be.
And so there's clear hesitation, and then he's like, well, screw it. Drops down to one knee, and for whatever reason, every time he bows to someone, it's with his right hand, in a fist across his chest, and bows down, and it kind of waits for acknowledge because he knows that Chloe doesn't expect that, and he knows that 10 Point doesn't really expect that at this point, but he has no idea what to expect from her.
This is one of the first times anyone has ever dropped to one knee like that in front of Kailani. and she's going to walk up and casually take a sniff of his hair and sit back down.
He smells like
Hello.
Pantene.
It is nice to meet you.
It is an honor, Kalani Raya. I'm obviously, like, so clearly just was not prepared for this. Takes a deep breath to settle himself back down. I am Jason Reynolds, of no deed name, board humming beneath the half moon, cub of the nations.
Very good. You may rise or roll around in the snow or whatever.
And get back to his feet and kind of like wiggle his legs until most of it falls off of his knees.
The nation does not care about your cold knees.
I know, Raya. He looks a bit sheepish.
Gosh,
Tradition cares nothing for discomfort.
I mean,
gosh, but true. Which
I've been
is
stuck on
why-
my back in the mud. It's not a big thing.
There are many things the nation does not care about. So, what brings you all here? Aside from it being the Umbra. And she'll nod to 10 Point.
It's a faint smile back. Chiminage, always chiminage.
Always chiminage.
Yeah, Claire look at Jason and be like, the main thing to know about chiminage is once you've made the deal, always keep the deal.
Bites the Week Raya had already mentioned that your word is bond here, which I would like to think goes anywhere, but I know isn't always the case.
He would be the right one to explain it, I suppose. I thought I'd push that point. We've seen what happens when people don't do their chiminage, and it's not pretty.
It's a very fleeting, but certainly it makes an appearance, just kind of a dark look. Not at anyone in particular, just kind of off, because the people she is thinking of are not currently present.
Yeah. Chloe could give you a list at this point. Let's start with Kachina.
Oh, Tempo wasn't there for that, but she would have had a fucking field day.
Tail end of Kachina. That's it.
But she idly nods. Much of what we are able to do is with the aid and the cooperation of the spirits. To break one's word to the spirits carries significant weight and will affect all future dealings until it's set right. It's very important to pay your debts to a spirit.
I don't know what
Oh,
I would
sorry.
offer a fire spirit, though. At some point, Raya, I don't really have much in the way of personal things at this point.
What type of item? Like a picture or something like that?
She offers a light shrug and a bit of just a wide gesture for something that is as natural to them as being asked to burn. Albeit you will be targeting towards your enemies. Anything of cursory value could probably be enough.
Ooh, fire spirits, they like to burn, right?
They do. And for a minor bit of aid, if you have little, as I know you do, even a token offering of human monies, which I am sure still have value to you, that could be burned, is something.
We can arrange for that. As she looks to Jason, if that's something you're okay with.
I could do that. If it had to be, any kind of personal, and he sighs. Like there's clearly going to be some bitterness about his house getting set on fire for a while. It's kind of already been burnt.
Yeah. I understand.
Sorry.
Of course. This is why I offer thoughts on things that could still work, but don't necessarily have incredibly personal value. What little you have left is of value enough for larger favors, I think.
Maybe some sacred wood.
Blood?
Some what wood?
Right?
Sacred?
Sacred wood. Like blessed, pure, consecrated.
I don't know how to bless things yet, so
The point is back to looking just ever so slightly amused. She keeps the smile very, very small, but
poor guy is clearly just floundering. Like
in a
Yeah,
pinch, Onrai, you could always do something like cut your hair.
Oh yeah, that would probably do it. They would eat that right up.
Actually,
lifts his hand up to run through his hair. Like hadn't even occurred to him that it was a thing. Like, oh yeah, I have hair.
so I forgot about it. So we'll say he was somewhere else, but Simon has a spirit following him because he's got that merit. So there's a storm spirit. So it's a pretty much a storm cloud with faces in it. That's kind of following.
He just kind of
lower.
rolls up out of
He
nowhere.
has his own personal little rain cloud.
Yes.
Or I guess
think
right now, flurry cloud.
I was gonna say, I kind of feel like now he's like Winnie the Pooh with his little black rain cloud.
No, he's Olaf with his personal flurry.
I'm just a little black. Anyway,
For what it's worth, Temp pointed at all this talk of Chiminage, kind of finally, just briefly, it's the weirdest little gesture. She kind of pulls a bit of a face and glances down, and like pulls out her coat a little bit, like and sticks a finger into like tug at like what's obviously a pocket, kind of peer into it. Like it's just this weird, brief little like, what do you even want face? And as the chill hits her pocket, like a tiny white mouse will like pop its head out, twitch its whiskers, probably glance around briefly, and then retreat back into the nice warm cozy pocket to curl up. And it is the Umbra, so it is certainly a small spirit, but yeah, just random little mouse bro. Pokes his head out. Ears twitch, whiskers twitch, says fuck it, it's cold, and goes back into the pocket.
that does sound like a bone gnar. Fuck it.
It's a cozy, warm pocket to curl up in. And I forget to mention him frequently, but he will usually be up in her hair or hanging onto one of her antlers or something like that. But yes, the simpler the task, the more suited to the spirit's base nature, the simpler the chiminage. You could trim your hair and burn the trimmings. You could offer human monies, which do burn. You could offer any number of things. Consider this and make sure that you advise your fellow cubs to put the same consideration into whatever they bring. keep in mind that while one could bring something of very dear personal attachment, a habit of overpayment is just as bad as underpaying.
Nods.
And she'll pause a moment and realize, oh, hey, there's a Kalani there, and she's a stargazer. Go fucking figure. So there'll be just kind of that brief, natural pause in conversation, and she'll turn a glance down to the lupus. Honrai, is there any chance you are reasonably familiar with Dream Ravens? And you're muted, Heather.
Sorry. I have encountered them, yes. And I know a little bit about them. Do you need them for something?
We do have a shrine on Sept that appeals to them nicely, but I thought I would ask if there were trends to their chiminage that you were familiar with.
Is this for Tlatahine?
This is... And she kind of pauses, obviously trying to decide the best way to say it for a moment. Related to current events.
Oh, our new friend.
Yes. I mean to do as much as I can with as subtle a gesture as possible, Raya. Perhaps as these come to Sept, as they come with whatever intention they may have, believing that they are being given ill omens will slightly influence their actions.
It's an idea.
The ravens and crows alike, are included in most spiritual broods, I find. They are one of the very few spirits that are included in so many, including Fenris's brood. Sending dream ravens, telling them to keep their natural shape and to come with cries of warning and perhaps flashes of memory the last time that war was waged on this sept. From their perspective, it may serve to discourage haste in turning to violence.
I mean, it's worth a try. But honestly, from what I've been learning, I feel that I don't know, maybe it'll cause them to think a little bit longer at least. But based on the way they feel about things, I just kind of don't know. You know what I mean?
It is not a perfect solution, and it's not a guaranteed solution, but every small gesture that I can make now means more. The last time we went into battle was something heinous. There were 5 Theurges. Now there are not. I don't have the means to single-handedly support a war effort.
No, of course not. That said, if you come up with some kind of an idea that you need more chiminage for, let me know and I'll help you with that.
As far as I know, the dream ravens like gossip.
They do. At times they seem to be very similar to other raven spirits and appreciate things that shimmer, appreciate an offering of eyes. But the more that we can bring together to offer, the more likely that the effect will be as desired.
Hmm.
If you
And
have a thought, and she'll turn a glance to Chloe as well, offering a faint nod. And if you have anything particular that you offer, I know that you have said before that you can do unusual things. The more that
Well,
are willingly offering Chiminage, the more likely that we can affect him and his packmates, and perhaps give them pause.
Chloe kind of raises an eyebrow, ponders a second, and she's just like, well, you did say dream ravens, so if there is something that might work in that area.
mm,
Because I'm pretty sure she did, yeah, she told 10 Point about that, so.
She did.
Yes.
I will mull over it. Gossip is a good idea.
they don't like boring or stupid people. So,
At the risk of being crass, I imagine that they find the stance and perceptions of a cat to be dull,
make
simply because they have a very simple solution for most problems.
make the request interesting.
That is the trick of it, isn't it?
And,
And she'll glance to Chloe. Perhaps either a certain amount of time that you sacrifice use of your gift, or an opposite to that, perhaps a time where you use it to
There's maybe
stroll
some way I can
through
aid
the
them.
topmost, the simplest dreams, and offer them the most interesting things you see.
I could do either one. Whichever one you think would work best.
We'll have to think on it, but I will think quickly. Hopefully, I had meant to begin before the Ragabash left, but hopefully it will be a case of them finding that as they come here with thoughts of war, these are the dreams that they have, and as they leave, these dreams will fade and abate, so that it seems very much to be an earnest warning from the spirits.
Speaking of that, and Chloe will kind of tap her, like, she's probably wearing gloves or something, but she kind of taps her chin for a second. I wonder if I could. Well, I don't know if he would. Yeah. I personally don't know of any protections against people getting into dreams that we have, unless you were to ask a spirit to do it.
It would depend on the nature of their theurge and whether they would have thought to ward against such things. There's also potentially the risk, depending on the totem that patronizes their pack, that it could become agitated or notice what you're doing.
I've never used that particular thing on.
If it is of Fenris's brood, it is less likely. Most of their totems are, and particularly in the case of a pack like this, with the services they provide, it is more likely to be a totem of war or cunning than one of wisdom.
Well, once I've seen Silverdew at some point, I would be able to get into his. Maybe I could learn something about him that we might be able to use.
Any insight that you could bring could aid in dealing with him, both face to face as well as in perhaps trying to affect what he sees when he sleeps, so that it delivers the strongest message.
What exactly is it that you're wanting to do?
And she licks her lips for a moment. It is not uncommon for spirits to offer omens, particularly if an action is especially favored or disfavored. Since ravens are so common to so many of the broods, a dream maven to anyone but a theurge, I imagine, would seem simply to be a raven, and have a raven in your dreams cawing warnings of doom, omens, and seeing as they are dream ravens, perhaps offering flashes of the last battle as it tilted in the Sept's favor as the enemy began to fall. Reminders that this Sept is nothing to trifle with. Could influence them to think of battle as a less desirable alternative.
And this pack is all Gat of Fenris.
As far as we know, they are from a Get Sept.
From a Get Sept, their alpha is Get, their Ragabash is Get. And even
Well-
if they're not all Get, as I said before, Raven and Crow seem to find a way to speak to almost all of the broods through one aspect or another.
Keen Theurge or someone who studies prophecies and omens and how to divine them might see through that, especially if they have means other than dreams.
There's a very faint smirk. I am one such person, Henri.
You are.
And it is very hard when it is dreams rather than proper visions where one has control to know that they are false. And even if you doubt, most Theurges will err on the side of caution, because there's no knowing for sure unless you have a way to enter your dreams with all your mind, as if it were conscious.
That's why I'm here.
The more I think about it, the more I think that maybe the second version that you came up with makes a little more sense, because if they like gossip and interesting things, I mean,
That's odd.
then picking up, then offering, you know, that for a certain time I will visit a dream, you know, that I will, and then I can tell them what I found in it, you know, something along those lines. I'd be happy to do that. And I could easily see people just by going out into public, and I can pick out random people to visit.
I imagine that the dreams of Guru will hold more value than those of the casual walker by. We could see if various members of the Sept are willing to offer so that it is not a violation of the mind.
I wonder if they've ever seen a dog's dream.
Her eyebrows kind of pop a bit.
Can you get into a dog's dream, Chloe?
I have never tried. I will say that, I mean, it literally doesn't say no animals, but it also doesn't say includes animals. So maybe? I could try. Luckily, this gift is really nice because you don't have to spend anything. You just roll wits with empathy, diff 8. But yeah, Chloe did notice that Jason started to say something a minute ago, so she will kind of pause and turn to look at him.
Sorry to interrupt, Raya, but if they like clever things and excitement, would making this a challenge of sorts appeal to them, maybe?
I could see that.
Thinking at a challenger game might engage them more, yes. It's not a bad
Riddles?
idea.
Oh. What about a game of tag?
Perhaps making the effect itself that I'm going for a game or a challenge so that it is believable will help. As for the Chiminage itself, games, I wonder if they would be enough. And she finally just gives up and flops down into a sit in the snow. Fuck it.
What about
Kailani
riddle?
won't come up and kind of lay down next to her and sort of whisper, you know, puzzles and riddles and games are generally things primarily Brood likes.
They are indeed. It is a step outside of my chosen routes, but they are more suited to what I need than any member of Stag's Brood. And she'll kind of thankfully, actually, never mind. No, she won't. Haha. Because she has cooties. She will not touch the lupus, because that is rude. She won't keep her from flopping next to her, or anything like that.
What about
She'll just probably maybe start to lift a hand from where it rests on our leg, and then pause and put it right back where it started.
riddles? Something interesting. Something that you think about. Not a lot of riddles are very easy, but should take time looking for one. Making one yourself.
One
That
made
was-
ourselves. Riddles made ourselves, perhaps. But I imagine that the Dream Ravens have heard many, many riddles before. And it is no good to tell them something they have already heard.
Yeah, I guess. But maybe then, like I said, maybe a riddle made yourself.
She nods slightly in agreement, thoughtfully. It's not a bad idea. And she'll rub lightly at the side of her face, just like in that, oh, God help me, like... and after a pause, we'll glance up to Jason again. My own struggles aside, Andre. Consider the offering. Inform your peers. And you can either all return to me separately or together. And I will appeal to the fire spirits for you. There are some that still reside at the shrines to Stag and the Hind. They have made it home.
And he does a kind of a like half nod, half bow. A now, possibly a bod.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
It's a bad now, damn.
And thank you, Raya. I will take word to them.
She gives kind of an absent nod. Obviously, yeah, just kind of tumbling various thoughts around in her head.
Yeah, by now Chloe's, well, she's kind of dropped to sit on the ground as well, like snow, whatever, who cares? And isn't really like she's there, and it's, you know, she's close enough to speak with, but she's kind of looking off in the distance a little bit. Not at anything in particular.
When it rains, it pours, right, Raya?
Yeah. yeah, she sort of shakes her head out of her reverie a little bit. It's been a lot lately.
Nelson, I don't know what's going on, but Lordy.
Sorry, there was a ambulance going through
Oh, okay.
my street.
That was the weirdest ambulance I've
It
ever
almost
heard.
sounded like an
No, I've
alarm.
heard that. I've heard that one before.
Yeah, it's different sounding.
So she rubs at her face again. Raya, I know that you and your pack mates meant to take some actions, if I remember properly, in regards to finding the two we're looking for. Did you gain any insight?
The two we're looking for?
The siblings? She's being very purposefully vague.
Yeah, I'm puzzled myself. Sorry, it's 1:00 a.m.
Oh, sorry. It is 1:00, so I'm just gonna go. The Skinner has a twin, and we need to find
Oh,
both.
yes.
Jason looks totally lost.
I was like, what are we talking about? My brain is so weird right now. Yeah, we'll just say that because she's not really altogether that great at the moment either, and just kind of takes a second and then does kind of a blank and slowly nods, like as the understanding comes over her face.
Were you able to gain any insight at all in who exactly we're looking for?
I mean, I didn't have any particular ideas is the thing. I mean, I was told that you guys had almost had him. I didn't know that was...
You've narrowed it down very closely, Raya, but
We did read the journals. That much is true, but that didn't really give any clues to that. As to, like, locations or anything like that. You know what I mean?
no names, no locations. And worst comes to worst, Raya. There are a handful of people I would start with, and presuming that there were others present to ensure that I did not
Which do we want first?
meet, probably
The kin?
yes. If no one has seen the other, there is almost no possibility of specifically picking them out. And unless one has the scent of the true form, there's no telling whether we're even speaking to the kin or their mirror. But I had thought to begin with Mike or Tyler, perhaps. And at the very least, I can perform the rite of heritage. And
Would that give you that
confirm.
kind of information?
When the rite of heritage is performed, it gives a lineage, but it also gives one the chance to ask a single specific question about that person's lineage. If I perform it successfully, I can ask whether or not the target of the rite has a twin sibling, an identical twin sibling.
And they are identical, yes.
She nods, and the catch being, of course, that I would be very intimately close to the person in question, and if they grow agitated in the same fashion as their teacher, I will have a very permanent, very big hole in my body as a result if they realize they've been caught.
There is a trick to that. If you do it on sept behind wards, they shouldn't be able to get anything that would hurt you too badly, and right?
I am weak to silver in every form, Raya.
Okay.
Then
I mean, fair on that, but that's what I mean. I didn't think that they could get silver through the wards, though, right?
The wards detect... The spirits that make up the wards are those that detect worm taint, those that detect other... And she kind of brings up air quotes, magics. Silver is not inherently magical, and there are those on sept, like Yorbeta, who carry silver.
Ah, that's true, he does. But that's also sanctioned in its own way, if you know what I mean.
If the spirits were responsive to silver, Raya, we would have them going off constantly as tourists came and went. Silver is not inherently strange or magical. It is natural.
Gotcha. Okay.
Would you have to be alone to perform this rite, 10 Point?
No. Though I worry that the kin would be agitated if we held them in place as I did the rite. But it may be the only realistic way to do it without risk to myself. And while I do not assign myself untold value, there are precious few. They're just left on this sept.
You need a look from Kailani. It's the same look she gave Simon earlier. That mom look of, really?
Oh yeah. No regrets.
Really?
I have a possible way that you can have somebody else there without it being suspicious.
I had considered going so far as to ask Dallas to simply, very gently restrain the kinfolk as the rite was being performed.
I'm thinking something a little more discreet. Why don't you just have someone there who you're showing how to do this ritual, who you're teaching it to?
My concern, Raya, is that if it is not the kinfolk that stands in front of me, but the Ronin, they will be able to act very, very quickly. What happened to Talate? I was sitting right next to her, Raya. It was very fast.
Okay, well, I can try to use Pulse of the Prey.
The only suggestion that I can make for pulsing is to either pulse the Ronin themselves, describing them as the Ronin. She kind of shrugs helplessly. And if you can lay eyes on them, it will confirm the identity of the kinfolk. Or to perhaps try to pulse each of the kinfolk that we are suspicious of, but while imagining them as a guru. I don't know. I know my Raya has had very little luck. I know that they're hiding.
It doesn't hurt to try, at the very least.
She nods agreement. We just need confirmation. We just need to know who.
10 Point. The shrine to Chimera still stands on the sept, yes?
Of course.
I think I know what I need to do.
She offers a faint smile. I imagine it. Well, I imagine. Let me strike that from the record. It still resides within the Cairn heart, for all that we do not earn a patron from it any longer. All tribal totems have shrines on the sept.
Yeah, there's a slight stiffening when you say that.
It's said in kind of a gentle attempt to be comforting. Like, it still has a place of honor, essentially, alongside Great White Mouse.
It's not that. It's just more that she was there when it happened. And it's kind of one of those things, it's like,
yeah, that doesn't bring anyone the feel goods.
Right.
Poor Jason.
Poor Jason. Is 10 Point sitting down still, or did she get back up?
Oh no, she's still just kind of flumped down in the snow. She probably isn't even sitting in a particularly organized fashion. Just kind of has her legs plopped up in front of her and an arm, or one leg propped in front of her, one crossed leg in front of her, and an arm resting on one of them.
There's a Kailani as close to being in your lap as it can possibly get.
Is she obviously trying to crawl into her lap, I assume?
More or less, yes.
10 Point just very obligingly will shift, crossing her legs, and lean back a bit to make room for Kailani. And while it's maybe not of note to some and of note to others, she'll actually lift a hand as the lupus plops across her lap, and there's marked hesitation before she finally just kind of sets it just below the back of her neck, like essentially on the back of her shoulders, and gives a reassuring ruffle of pressure. And we'll look up to this exchange going on in the side chat that we're totally going to put in the scene because they can't see the side chat later.
Oh, no, that's totally fine. I just didn't want to interrupt while you guys were talking.
No, you're good.
But yeah, Chloe had kind of noticed this confused look on Jason's face and asked the question, got a question? And
dun dun dun. My timing is immaculate.
Sorry, yeah, no, your timing is terrible. And Jason kind of frowns a little bit and first kind of like shakes his head and he's like, I mean, like an endless number, but why don't all of the shrines get, I mean, do they get tended regularly or?
yes.
10 Point provides what is perhaps the most honest and weary nod that she's given so far. She lets it show a little.
For the record, if 10 Point even gets anywhere near, like, say, what, Reindeer or Pegasus, like, she see Chloe there, like, pretty much every day.
Hey, if Chloe is keeping the shrine clean and tended and happy, it is one less off her list.
Yeah.
She'll still make cursory trips by to make sure nothing offensive is there, make sure that, like, all is good. But if it, if she comes by and the shrine is, being well kept, well, thank Gaia.
I mean, well, she yeah. She feels that, like, these ones are my particular ones for obvious reasons.
Madness.
So she handles it because, and if there's other people, that's fine, but she's going to make sure it's done.
But yeah, there's a weary nod, and she'll offer. It falls to the keepers and the keeper of the land to do such things. And so I have continued to do such things. It is not small work, but split so that each is tended on a weekly basis seems to be sufficient.
Is it something other people can help with, Rhea?
Absolutely.
I do. I make a point to tend to Pegasus and to Reindeer.
I would like to learn then, if that would be allowed. Obviously the spirits are, everybody keeps telling me, a huge part of who we are and what we do. And so I should probably pay some more attention to that.
Well, your man, wolf, and spirit each should have proper attention paid. But yes, I'd be happy to. And she kind of glances up to Chloe. Take you on rounds with me. If that is acceptable, and if he has the time to spare. An extra pair of hands would be a massive boon to me at the moment.
I don't have any problem with it at all. Yeah, I mean, that's actually a really, really good idea. Clear it with Bites of the Week as well, since, kind of falls in his area, but I don't see why he would ever complain about that.
And she looks thankful. Kind of smooths out her features a bit. All things considered, at this point, I was the last of the keepers. The keeper of the land is a position I will have to inquire after to ensure it is filled. But it still leaves me. He kind of shrugs.
10 point. I would be happy to help you with a few more. It's not like it takes that much longer out of my day, and I mean, I can't be a keeper as I'm the dead mother, but I would be happy to help you.
There's a markedly, again, 10 point is as the conversation goes, kind of relaxing from her public face, as it were, and more there's just kind of a relaxing into a relieved expression, but perhaps a little more so now, bleh, as it has been pointed out. The fact that she is markedly short on sleep and energy is showing. There's the little bit of the dark circles. She's when one knows to look for it, she's definitely showing signs of wear and tear.
Oh, Jason will have at some point finally stopped looming awkwardly and just plopped down on his butt in the snow, by the way.
It's magic snow. Your butt doesn't get wet. It just stays snow because I think that's hilarious. And I have
That's the
declared it.
best.
Your butt's cold, but at least it's dry.
So emoji to be.
No wet butts in this scene. Dun, da, da.
No.
Overall snow, it has all the good parts of snow without any of the bad things of snow.
I am totally down with that.
What was that, Heather?
10 point, Raya.
Yes, Henry.
You have if you have a question you seek an answer to, Chimera is a totem of wisdom. Chimera can grant you an answer.
Chimera can. I just wonder if I have time to translate his answers.
I would say not a lot of time, honestly.
If
That wind, that lovely cold wind.
if you get an answer, I can help with the translation.
She'll just nod easily, just like, you know what, fuck it, that seems legit, essentially. 10 point, it does not have a lot of ceremony left to stand on at this point, so there's just kind of like, yep, that seems fine. Everything's
If it was-
fine. Suddenly all the snow's on fire. No.
No,
If it
man.
would help expedite things, I feel badly that I'm not keeping up with things the way I used to.
If you like, Conrad, we can have a bit of a sit down once we've all, for intents and purposes, parted ways, and I can catch you up on as much as I am aware of. It seems only in good sense to ensure that all of the Galliards are aware of what has been going on. Who better
I
to
would
make
love-
sure everyone else is aware?
I would love to hear the tales, and I know someone who probably doesn't know what's going on either. If you don't mind.
It's just kind of like a buh blink.
Jason goes back to looking confused.
You get this big, hopeful stare from Kailani.
Of course, Henri. As long as it is a member of the nation.
It is.
Raya?
Yes, Henri.
No, he's staring at Kailani and looking mildly alarmed.
I
look at
assume I was
Jason.
the one getting the hopeful stare.
Nope,
Yes.
panic stare.
Is there something
And he
wrong?
does that thing where like his mouth is working, like he has a question and the words are just not there.
eyebrow
Uh,
slowly
is-
starts migrating towards her hairline.
Is his mouth open?
Oh yeah.
Saloni will get up out of 10 Point's lap
Just
rather
be-
reluctantly, go over and close it, and sit down in front of him expectantly.
I was like, quick, be a cat, stick your nose in his mouth.
I mean,
So
if he's down
startled.
near the ground, she would.
He's sitting. So
You
Oh,
have a lupus snout almost inside your mouth.
he sort of
Damn
like
it.
leans back and just sputters like as never mind. I don't even know what I was gonna say.
That's why you
Go on.
don't leave your mouth open.
Yes, ma'am. Raya. Yes. Right.
Ma'am, it's fine. I'm a mom.
He just like bops his head up and down with his mouth firmly closed.
It, for what is probably one of the very, very few magical moments that it happens, Tempoid has completely shut down the public face and is just looking amused in a very honest and open sort of way. All questions are good questions, Onrai.
I really don't even remember what I was gonna say, Raya.
Well, I do recall that I don't think I've ever explained to you the concept of a Ronin.
Oh, yeah, I keep hearing that word.
It's a sage little nod of like, this is a good plan. Dun, ta-da, moral support.
Yeah. A Ronin. It's, yeah. And he'll just look at Chloe.
A Ronin is a Garu who, for whatever reason, has left the nation. They are pretty much always questionable, but aren't necessarily evil. They haven't danced the spiral and gone all straight wormish, but they are. Well, I suppose they could have, but we wouldn't know it because we really don't mix with them.
So it's the same source as the Japanese term then. It's a samurai that does not serve a lord.
Fair enough,
But
yeah.
goes out on their own.
Yeah, pretty much. In this case, it seems that there is a Ronin out there that we need to find. Which I will attempt to do as soon as I have an ST that will let me try a roll, assuming that that's what I need.
Probably. Temporal, not agreement. Ronin haven't necessarily danced the spiral, but this one is being led into actions that may well lead to it. It's being tricked and coaxed and talked around into actions that will almost inevitably cause them to make that dance.
So yes, without going into all of the extra detail necessarily, we need to find the Ronin.
And in finding the Ronin, we will identify the kinfolk and the Skinner. I was so sure that we would find the hides there. And her face has fallen somewhat, and she's gone back to kind of rubbing at her brow, not very pointedly, never smearing that that bit of blue paint.
You know that's
Oh.
you know that's the itchiest spot on her face, right?
Absolutely. And she finally goes, oh dear. Mariah, you speak to William White more commonly than I do. The first of the
I
kills, the
suppose.
greatest in station. And she will reach a hand into her swag and rifle a bit and produce in her open palm a whistle. Just a small, simple, unremarkable looking little whistle. It has been cleansed, but it is still a fetish. A minor one. And when all of those things happened, she kind of grimaces. This I found among our enemy's belongings. It is up to him whether he wants it or it would fall next to Myria, but it is a wind whistle, and when blown, it will eradicate all traces of a person's presence. It's why we had all of our trails go blank, I think, as we backtracked after Jeremy's death and various investigations into the Skinner.
Yeah, once you've made it clear where this came from, yeah, her face kind of tenses up a bit, like her shoulders too, and she kind of looks at this whistle, looks at 10 Point.
She kind of winces. I don't know if there is such a thing as a good time. I don't want to send him back into thought of it, but this was found, and rightfully he has first claim as the Wormfoe. In the meantime, I have been carrying and tending it.
No, that's fine. Yeah, you're probably right. It's probably better that I handle it.
And she will finally just kind of close the hand and lift it up and turn it about as though preparing to deposit it into an offered palm.
Yeah. Chloe sort of blinks and puts her hand out, and it's pretty obvious it's reluctant, but she does put out the hand to accept it.
And yeah, she will offer her the wind whistle. Just very delicately place it in her palm. It is clean now.
Thank you.
I will leave it to you to determine timing. You are more familiar with him than I am. If he says that he wants it away from him, it can...
Then I'll bring it back to either you or Aiden.
She nods.
That's fine. Yeah. I'm not so sure this will be a pleasant reminder.
Yeah, her expression has definitely gotten more tense.
Yeah, Simon approaches Chloe in a supportive manner, kind of thing, because his tail and lupus kind of rubs against her leg, kind of how dogs do, dogs and wolves do.
Yeah, she'll look down and kind of touch his head, not in any kind, just kind of the touch of like, I get it, you're here, She'll take a deep breath and just kind of retreat to not talking for a minute or two.
And then everything was awkward.
She doesn't want to think about giving this to Will. Oh my god.
Why do you think 10 Point still has it?
The last two scenes have been so many feels. It's like, oh my god. And I know there's another one coming.
Prepare to have your heart fucking shattered. The feel strain is coming.
Okay, Chloe knows about certain things about him at this point that yeah. Okay. Yeah, she's definitely pulling that what's it, 1,000-yard stare, is that the right word?
Yep.
Term. She's definitely pulling that again with her hand still kind of on Simon, on his head.
And 10 Point, after there is a brief, awkward pause, just long enough to make it weird, well, in searching for a new line of conversation, look to Jason. I don't know what times of day you are not taken with training, with lessons, but As soon as you're free tomorrow, I will take you to a number of the shrines and we will tend them. And once you understand what you're doing, which is fairly simple, I will show you where various shrines are. Likely the lesser ones at first, so that you can have a chance to do it yourself, but if the job is well done, I will happily teach you to tend. And when time comes that you pass your rite of accomplishment, or your rite of
Passage.
yes, thank you. My brain. When you pass your rite of passage, if you wish to become a keeper, I am sure we would be happy to have you. It is not a role restricted to Theurges. There are even some precious few kin that have gnosis that aid in these things.
He looks mildly awkward and kind of runs his hand, through his hair and then rubs the back of his neck. I mean, that's a long way off, but I'm still honored to learn, and yeah, kind of runs out of words, but very pointedly closes his mouth while he's thinking. Does it involve talking to all of them,
Not
or
always.
just?
In fact, very rarely. Usually it is a matter of ensuring that any offerings are in order, that if there are no offerings, some is made, keeping the shrine clean. I will, as you've had time, perhaps after the first few small rites, to your rite of passage, I will teach you to cleanse. But it is no hard thing. It is simply time-consuming and something that should be done with some respect to its importance, with focus and intent.
Yeah,
Mhm.
pretty
He
easy to learn.
nods.
If you want more than a teacher, I can. Then he'll look at 10 point. If 10 point will accept my assistance, I can help you teach. Help her teach you. And if 10 mother will accept it.
Simon gets like this weird askance look.
Chloe looks confused because she wasn't really paying that close of attention. All of a sudden, she's hearing about Simon helping someone teach something.
I mean, 10 Point looks confused too. She's not alone.
Okay. Yeah, so she'll look at Simon and be like, what?
Oh, I was just telling Jason. Well, 10 point offered to help him teach how to. Sorry. Shit, I just forgot the word in like a Flash elf character.
You and rights or the
Learn.
shrine tending?
No, the cleansing.
Oh, cleansing specifically. Okay, I thought he meant like tending shrines, and she was like, "You're not a keeper. The fuck you talking about?"
Because
Yeah, when he
Yeah,
says
that's-
cleansing and clarifies, her expression loosens up a bit. Like,
I'll say I can help. 10 point was telling Jason she could teach him how to cleanse, and I offered to help her.
I mean, if you want to be present, you certainly can, Simon. It's really just more a thing of. I find that I'm trying. I find that certain auspices teach certain things better. But that doesn't mean that some of others of us don't actually know various rituals, of course. But
I'm just not.
if 10 point is fine, I don't mind you being there for that.
and she offers up kind of a helpless shrug. I don't know that two are needed to give instruction, but having someone to be a willing participant in showing how it is done would certainly help.
However, Simon, for sure, I never did think to mention to you that it was perfectly fine to just to spar with Jason now. It wasn't before, but now I've done what I need to do.
Jason
not.
grins.
When you have the time, then, Jason.
Absolutely. The more practice, the better, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Very much so.
that's definitely true.
And he gives this kind of funny little, like, laughing at myself sort of thing. I think that's probably the only thing right now that I'm learning that I feel comfortable with.
You're actually pretty good.
Yeah. I've heard while I've seen you out in the field. You
He
fight
looks
well.
pretty- Thank you, Reyes.
And you could definitely, take a hit.
Tinpoint will tactically fail to mention the fucking comedy of errors that was retrieving him on his first change. But she looks distracted for the moment, perhaps recalling just how many Guru got thrown in that room.
Well, I mean, that would really just prove Chloe's point, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
She's not disagreeing. She's just suddenly like, "Oh, what a fanciful daydream this is." Remembering watching Jason pitch several Aruns and a very capable combat Raggy across the living room. That poor china cabinet, it never knew that this would be its fate. Like,
It ate like 3 of them. It was-
yeah.
oh, my Wedgwood. Richard's Wedgwood.
Poor China never saw it coming.
But and in what is not the worst segue ever, but probably not the smoothest, he kind of actually on the subject of learning things from different people, and he looks over at Kailani. I had been hoping to meet you, Kailani Raya, to learn about your tribe. You're the only one on Sept that I have not yet spoken to.
Oh, you wanted to learn about the Stargazers.
I would like to learn about all tribes.
Tinpoint
can
looks
tell
so
you-
thankful right now. So thankful that someone wants to make an educated decision.
I can tell you what I know.
And he nods and looks slightly expectant, but also as though she decides that she wants to tell him later. He'll understand and not be fussy.
Do you have any specific questions?
What do you believe is most important to your tribe, Raya?
Kailani will stop and think about that for a moment. Before she answers. And after a moment or two of silence, she will say, I think the thing that is most important to our tribe is wisdom.
And he nods. Your totem is the totem of wisdom?
Our totem is a totem of wisdom, yes. But it is for wisdom that we put aside the notion that those of higher station are automatically deferred to among my tribe.
He looks
is-
actually slightly startled.
For the sake of wisdom, that we openly question those in a higher station when we do not agree or see the wisdom in their words and their actions or their decisions.
He nods slowly, looking suddenly very thoughtful. Since that is probably the most unique thing about any tribe that anyone has said yet. Thank you, Raya. That is certainly food for thought.
You are welcome.
Is there anything else you believe I should know about your tribe? I know it's an open-ended question, sorry.
Above all, we strive to master our rage and to attain balance between wolf and human, between wolf and Garu, between human and Garu. Between the material form and the spirit.
He nods again.
The other important thing I would tell you is that we do not and she'll stop and think a moment how she wants to say this. We do not see the Metis as anything other than the unfortunate result of two people who were unable to restrain themselves.
More nodding.
Seeing as this is an interesting thing to pick as a point of focus. Yeah, 10 has it's just still quietly listening, but her expression shifts faintly.
Regardless of breed, all Garu are Garu, and they are not to be spurned.
And while I imagine Kailani is looking Jason in the face as she speaks to him, anyone else is welcome to.
Peony.
Yes, I think that's probably a better idea. I was debating whether to give it away, but yes, Peony is probably a better idea.
Is it set up somewhere? Werewolf?
I think I did. Yes.
Allow me to use my powerful
Or I didn't, but let me do it now.
Your psychic powers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fail. My 4d10 are not all that great in this area.
Sometimes sidekick gives and sometimes sidekick takes away. Would Jason or Simon like to peony to catch whatever meaning there is to that little tweak of expression?
Yeah, because he'll probably see, even if he's maybe not paying the most attention. So I'll go for it. Why not? I have to remember what I even have. I have the exact same dice. Do we have a scene? Oh, yes. Okay.
Yep.
And what's the
standard difficulty is 6. And I'm not rolling anything against it to take away your successes. So 2 for Simon, 3 for Jason. Boy.
He is thinking hard right now. Or something.
Right? For Simon, it's definitely there's obvious well, she is not judgmental in doing so. She obviously disagrees on some level. Though it's not a again, it's not an aggressive sort of disagreement. It's just kind of like the nose wrinkle of and since
Yeah, so yeah, I get the sure.
Yeah, it's just the kind of like that's and for Jason's sake, since he's gotten 3 and that's pretty good, he will catch that it's sort of the like, oh, you just don't know. But it's sweet that you think that, but you don't know. Like, it's almost a touch sad, and it doesn't linger on her face long. It's just whatever. I have not watched all of the scenes that you've done with Aiden, but whatever has been said, like it's clear that 10 Point has not drunk the Kool-Aid. She is the Kool-Aid, and she agrees very firmly with her tribe's stance. So it's one of those things where it's like, oh, that's sweet, but that's so. She feels it is so wrong. She's not going to call it out. She's not going to bait it, but he'll just kind of catch that impression from her before she turns her glance aside and probably doesn't even realize she's getting caught at it. She's usually better about minding her expression. So
I don't know. You wanna peony right back?
Sure.
I'll just mention in this whole thing that Chloe totally caught nothing here. She kind of already knew that about
she already
10 Point.
knows.
So yeah, it's not like it's a big shock. She's just impressed that you hid it from her.
Yeah, I mean, in her case, it's duh. Of course, she feels that way. It's just the fact that she's letting it slip at all is new and different. So that is 2 successes. So she might catch him glancing at her and briefly read his expression.
He does glance up, and there's this like tiny concerned quirk of his eyebrows and a little tiny like tilt sideways of his head. Like I see you, but I am not going to say anything until maybe later.
All right, yeah. So yeah, there's a very, as much as it has taken us several minutes to narrate it, there's just a fleeting exchange of expressions and glances, and particularly when she sees Jason has caught her line of thought. Will just ever so innocently be suddenly looking. Oh, look at all this snow! What nice snow it is! Like she do, and let Kailani continue because bless Kailani, bless her so much.
And while that's all going on, Kailani has been pondering whether to end it there or continue on, and so she just finally adds on, many of our strongest learners and teachers have been met us.
More nodding, this time slower and more. Okay. All right, makes sense. Yep.
If you are really interested, I would be more than happy to speak with you more in depth about something.
Certainly. Although I will not weigh down a conversation this large, Raya.
That seems appropriate.
And then there was another awkward pause.
Yeah, there was.
It's just the 1,000-yard stare. It is what it is now.
They are all enjoying the snow.
She's become one with the 1,000-yard stare.
I feel that might be the case. Do you think there's a spirit that goes with that?
Yes.
There's a spirit for everything.
I mean, I've already made deals with love spirits. I mean, why not this one?
Yeah, because I mean, it's a very concrete concept. I think there's, yeah, definitely. They're not a happy spirit.
And yeah, after a few minutes of that awkward silence, Chloe's gonna kind of look down to where Simon, I assume, is still sort of, curled up there. And
yeah, he's still like pulled up against her, probably like embracing, I guess is the word, her hand, like rubbing her hand against his head.
And she's gonna be like, I think I'm gonna go. I have some duties to attend to.
Yes. Okay. Do you need company, or do you wish to be alone?
It's up to you. You can come if you want. I mean, I'm not gonna go talk to Mother Larissa or anything.
And he'll nod.
And yeah, she'll stand up and do the ritualistic, wiping off your butt of all of the snow. It's very graceful.
High ritual. Very
It
formal.
is. Everybody in a minute here is going to be doing the same thing, except the lupus who will shake it off. And she'll just be like, I'll talk to you guys later.
No,
And-
absent little nod.
Yep, and she's gonna take off, probably towards the shrines, check on a few things, and She'll probably confer with 10 Point later on what exactly she wants her to do. You can just make up something. It's fun for later.
Woohoo.
But she'll definitely take care of her normal too and try to grab a few more around because, everything needs to be handled. And off she goes, assuming Simon goes, then off he fucks with her. It's right.
Yeah, Simon. That caregiver nature, he'll look at the rest. Will. Jason, when I'll contact you about, I'll see you about sparring when you have time.
Of course.
And he'll nod at the group and follow Chloe.
And Jason kind of looks back at who's left.
I believe there remains a 10 Point. I do not know if there remains a Kailani.
No, Kailani is still here. Kailani appears to be enjoying the snow.
All right, then I think what we will do is, even if this conversation continues, we'll go ahead and split it up a little. So for now, until next time, watchers.
Dun, dun, dun.
Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. And we will see you almost certainly, imminently, in the living world of darkness, Rage Across New York.